Welcome to episode 10, 11, 12. We call it the mashup. What we're going to do is we're going to incorporate all the things that we've talked about in the previous episodes and apply them to some real-time things that are going on, today with the real estate market. Specifically, what we want to touch on is working with Generation Z buyers, and we're also going to talk about millennial buyers and how, sometimes your age is something where people will deter from working with you. And I can speak on that with personal experience, right? One of the reasons why my beard has been such an asset for me is because it does make me look older. And when I started in the business, right, people were apprehensive about working with me because they didn't think I had the knowledge. And oddly enough, I was able to grow a beard, and then people thought that I was a very smart, very wise man. And, the truth is just facial hair. But it definitely does play a component in it, right? And one of the topics that we want to talk about is the fact that all of us are very nimble and we are willing to work with generational buyers, whether you're a baby boomer, whether you're Gen Z or millennial, right? We have programs that are available to you, and we have people who understand, your culture specifically to, how they say in Spanish, tu siglo, right? Yeah. Of where you were going in. With that being said, I want to introduce my host, Christian Castillo, Angel Carlos, and we want to talk specifically again about Gen Z buyers and millennial buyers, Angel. So you shared a story with us a little while ago about someone who had some apprehension working with you.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us that story and give us a little recap of everything that you went through with that buyer?
I think just in general, like how you mentioned, I wanted to jump on like the beard stuff, man. Because when I started out, I just started off with like facial hair, really. I was just starting off with like a little goatee and stuff. But even then with my long hair as well. So I was looking young, you could say, right? Sure. And then when I was like, approached by like maybe a different type of generation, maybe my parents' generation, people in the 45s and later age group, when they would ask me questions, it's more of like me just kind of getting in my mold as well of how confident I am when explaining certain like products or the market and stuff, home prices. But to me, it was more like them just kind of seeing the appearance as well.
Yes.
Like, does this guy know his shit or not? Right.
Yes.
So to me, it was just something I really want to touch on before. Just the beard stuff that like it does kind of help, man, the age thing. But then over time, it's just like, obviously whatever I have now in appearance, it's more like people do trust you just based on whatever you can make, how you can make them feel. Right. And just being able to just work with certain buyers or just sellers as well that, some might be a little hesitant or some might not be. But my experience at first, it was a little difficult getting, convincing an older buyer to move forward with me. But then over time, I did find that it was maybe like in the middle age group or it was like, in their 30s, so like millennials in that age, that they did tend to trust me a lot more and a lot easier, less resistance. But then also it's because the age of information, what do they have in their hands that
Correct.
It's a lot easier to just research or search up, my name and stuff, Angel Carlos, or maybe they came up on their feed or something, right?
Correct.
But to me, it was more like, it was a thing where, as over time I gained confidence, at the same time, they were able to just kind of reciprocate that energy. They would match my energy and then be like, I trust this guy. So I'm going to move forward with him. But just working with, as well as like Gen Z buyers right now, they're more of like, I'm interested in this, or can you explain certain things to me? So I think for them, it's more like we already have the information, but I just want to confirm with you that it's the right information.
Correct.
And just if it's the right thing or the right source too, that could get me to the next, to this door, you could say. But just in general, just that's the gap in a way you could say. Absolutely. But also, and it is a testament as well with the time of experience that even last year I worked with like a 71-year-old, the sale of his home, or actually the purchase of his home, which he was currently renting out. Like, wow. He was a tenant. So he was a tenant and he's trying to make home ownership possible. So
at 71.
At 71.
Good for you, sir.
So that's why to me, it's like, he's like, well, we trust you. So you're very patient. You're this and that. And then I was like, all right, yeah, no problem. And I was at the time, 25? So it was like last year. And, to me, to have a 71-year-old man like trust me in the process when his daughter is like 22, it spoke volumes. So it also just transcended of like how well confident you communicate that information and like, we're going to get this done. And that's my progression through the past 4 years of how I'm able to work with different generations, where at first I wasn't even able to convince a 45-year-old, but now I'm working with a 71-year-old. So to me, it's just being able to recognize the differences too, right? I recognize the change that they might want physical paper here now. Yes. They might not like electronically sign something or docu-sign it. Correct. They're not too familiar, but if they are willing to learn, then, I'll teach them. And I even went above and beyond with them where like we would go in person and then anything that was sent electronically, I would go there and physically do it off their phone. Just, hey, here you go. 7 p.m. at night. I don't mind, dude. Doesn't matter because I'm servicing the people and trying to help them. The 71-year-old's hiring me to accomplish his dream to buy a property. So to me, it's like, man, like it's not just a commission, man. It's a relationship, and then they trust me, and it vibes so like amazing. And at the end of the day, we ended up having lunch, pupusas there, So to me, it was like, oh, all right, like these people, like they trust me, so then let me just deliver and the rest of the process. So that was kind of my journey of like working with different generations. So I think I saw the progression, and then now it's just working with a variety, just from like 18-year-old all the way to, like I said, 70s and stuff. So it's been a fun ride, and just now as well, it's just more, like I'm working with a 50-year-old, and as well as like a lot, like maybe 4 clients that are in my generation as well.
Yeah.
So in the 20-year-old range. So I think it's been fun just seeing the full circle. Now it's a mix. It's not just one specific generation.
Yep. And then what ends up happening in those moments, because you get to work with such an eclectic group of people who are trying to buy a property, is that you start to learn what people's motivations really are.
Oh, yes.
So then, like, for that older gentleman who was purchasing his home, right, for him, it was that stability, right? So he's not a flipper. He's not looking, like those things aren't the motivation for him, right? But then you do have some of the younger buyers who say, well, what can I do with this, right? And then the fact that we can understand that you can leverage this asset, right? Well, maybe now you do an Airbnb rental, right?
Yes.
And this is a new game that a lot of people have started getting into, right? You and I got to experience some really cool Airbnbs last year as we traveled across the country, right? And you see the benefit that it's there, right? Because you have the commodity of kind of walking into your own place. You don't have to worry about like people bothering you, right? And then for me, one of my favorite things to do is just get home and walk around butt naked, right? At a hotel, you get a little weird because, there's a lot of people around or whatever. But if you're in your own place, you just feel like that comfort of like, oh, man, I'm here. Right?
No price for them, man.
None at all, right? And then you talk about those like the Gen Z buyers, right? You're dealing with Gen Z buyers, right? And their motivation is a little bit different. They don't want to hold on to an asset. They're looking how they can make money the quickest, right?
Yes.
And what that happens is because of the way the market is now. The introduction of cryptocurrency, right? That you could become a millionaire overnight. Now that expectation is so high that everybody thinks that that's the quickest thing, right? The truth is that this real estate game is a long play, right? Sure, you get a few home runs every once in a while, but you're in this for the long run, right? There's a 9-inning stretch. You're going to go through every single batter, right? That's how it works. And at the end of it, you have a great opportunity to invest in real estate, right? So let's keep going a little bit with the Airbnb rentals, Chris. Do you think that your customers right now who are doing the fix and flips, would that be a valuable asset for them? Would that be something that they would want to invest in and look at?
Definitely, because at the end of the day, like we said in the previous episodes, exit strategies are very important, right? Because like you said, it's a long-term play. So, and the market is very, very unforgiving, right? If you're there at the proper time, you can definitely work it out. But if it's not, you just can't hold on your asset. Like you said, you have to have other options. And Airbnb has made it a lot easier for a lot of people to, use room that they haven't been using it so they can benefit from it, right?
Correct.
So it's definitely a great asset to have in your tool belt, right? If you're investing in real estate, right? Just make sure to realize that for Airbnb, there's got to be certain things to make it work, right? It's got to be around good attractions, right? It's got to be in a nice area, right? It's going to have, all the bells and whistles as far as, around it, right? Because that's what you go. An Airbnb person is going to stay there and in a new place, right? So they have to be familiar with the area. And that's where obviously the location of your property matters the most.
Correct. And that's funny that you say that, Chris, because we're gonna actually talk about the 77 neighborhoods that are in Chicago, and then oddly enough, it looks like there's going to be a 78th neighborhood in Chicago.
Correct.
And even what Chris is speaking about on how certain neighborhoods are going to be predicated to rent Airbnb more than others, right? Because of certain things, right? So one of the reasons why we linked up with Angel is because he has a good presence in the suburbs, right?
Yep.
And we do have a lot of clients that are moving from the city to the suburbs, right? And more importantly, right now, I think Arlington Heights has become one of the areas that people are like, hey, why do I want to go there, right?
Yeah.
So share a little bit about that, that about Arlington Heights and, why you think that it is something that people should invest in.
Yeah, I mean, Arlington Heights, just growing up in the Wheeling area, Prospect Heights area as well, it's just always something that's been connected. And I live literally just across the street from Arlington Heights. So Arlington Heights stretches from like south to like north and then a little bit of the west suburbs and stuff. So it touches a lot of suburbs, but at the end of the day, it's a pretty big suburb. It's almost like a city. You go to the downtown and it's like Chicago.
Yeah.
So a lot of like, how do you say, mobility there, where there's train stations, there's libraries, police stations and stuff. But it's always been an attractive neighborhood. You know, like whenever someone brings up Arlington Heights and the suburbs, you think like, oh, okay, there's money there. There's people like, with wealth or something. And it is true because it's like, you do see it passed down where like the house was the grandparents' home.
Correct.
I think even there, the movie, the founder, like Ray Kroc, I think there's like a scene, like it says Arlington Heights, it's like, people like have come from there. And it's true that like, it shows like 1950 America, 1970s and stuff. You do see like the suburban lifestyle, like, the white streets and then like the sidewalk and then people on their bikes and then the parks right there. But it is very suburban. But I think the cool thing about it is that like the Bears coming,
that's right.
So to me, it's always been known that like Arlington Park, so like to me, like that area, so it's been known as like, those caballos, it's like the horses and stuff.
Yep.
And everything's pretty set up like nicely there. So like if the Bears were to move there, it'd be a pretty good move. Even the planner they released, it'd be like Arlington Heights, like a new expansion of kind of like a little downtown right there, man, around it. And just passing by it now, I even passed by it a couple of days ago too, because it's on my way back home. And I was like, man, like that's crazy. This place is almost set up for like traction,
Yeah.
So can you imagine like people who are like looking to purchase a first time home buyer in the Gen Z like generation?
Yeah.
Can you imagine like if they buy like a condo, you're more likely to find condo or townhouses over there than you are multi-units. Multi-units, you're gonna have to look a little more towards like, the entrance of the city and the suburb borderlines and stuff. But like over there in Arlington Heights, it's a little difficult to find like multi-units. Sometimes the inventory is a little lower. But when it comes to there, it's like people do take advantage in the way of like townhomes or like condos, like I mentioned that right there. Can you imagine like if they were interested in purchasing a condo there and then like make it into an Airbnb, attraction spots would be like, it'd be crazy there because you're near like where the stadium might be, right? So then you're also next to the metro station there. It takes you straight to the city. And also right there, just big avenues and then Interstate 53, like I mentioned earlier in the other episodes. So everything's pretty interconnected there. And just growing up in that area, pretty much just it's exciting to see that, because it's like, dude, there might be a freaking Super Bowl in this street that I pass by every day. Right. Like this little street that was like nothing. And then now it might be something bigger. Right. So it's exciting. And to me, I can't really think of the traffic, how it's going to be, man. To be honest, it's the only thing I'm not looking forward to. But other than that, it's just, the area is going to boom for sure, even more. And like I said, when people think Arlington Heights, they think wealth. So this is one of the things I wanted to touch on. But I think like, if you are, or you do own a property right now, I think you can leverage off instead of just outright selling it. Like how come like maybe if you live in like Wheeling or Prospect Heights, or you live in Rolling Meadows, nearby, neighboring suburbs, like, instead of selling, maybe leverage off it, like keep that condo or keep that single family home and maybe leverage it off into like, something that could be a staying place for like people who, are there for visiting for the future stadium and maybe want to rent it out as an Airbnb and stuff. So, to me, it's like, even like I want to touch on my past client as well. It was like my former classmate reached out to me that her dad wanted to like pretty much lease his condo. It's like they didn't want to sell it, but he wanted to lease it. So he wanted to make something out of it. So like, their lease is up almost in the summer. But one of the things that like, that could possibly be later down the line when the Bears do come down here, could possibly be an Airbnb. It's not too far off the highway.
Yep.
So just instead of like selling outright, maybe consider leveraging off it and making an Airbnb. But then also if you are thinking of just buying a condo, maybe there's other options that you can buy first before you buy that condo.
And then the Bears will be like all the other people from the suburbs and say, I'm from Chicago. Where are you from? Arlington Heights. That's not Chicago. Right? Like everyone who's from Naperville, like, I'm from Chicago. Where are you from? Naperville. So
there's always that saying, I found a Naperville kid.
There you go, bro. And now the Bears are going to be that for the league, right? They're going to be the Arlington High kids. And yeah, you're right. You think about, just thinking a little bit more creative, right? And even if you were to get an Airbnb in that area, why not make that like your a Bear suite?
Yeah.
Right? And then you deck it out with all Gale Sayers stuff, Walter Payton. You throw some of this Bear Super Bowl stuff in there. And then you're attracting a different type of client because they're coming to see the game anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Or you make it something where it's interactive for the visiting team that's coming in, right?
Yeah,
like those type of things that you can be a little bit creative, it will really leverage that asset that you have and you'll be able to rent it out.
That you put like a pool table or something there, or something like that. You have space.
Yep. Most of the Airbnbs that we rented on, I looked for something that was unique to the other places that I was looking at. Whether it was a swimming pool, a pool table in the middle of the thing, whether it had, multiple, but whatever it was this uniqueness of the property that made it stand out. And that's why I picked it.
Yeah.
So now you think about you as an investor with Airbnb. Yeah, take a little bit of time, do a little interior design in there, get more bang for your buck, right?
Yeah. That's good.
The other thing, right, is there is a segment of the population that just comes to watch the football game and they don't care where they stay at.
Yeah.
You may not have to put that much money into the property as long as it has the amenities that people need. A bed that's comfortable, water that runs, refrigerator, stove, all those things that are there. And you don't have to put a ton of money into it. And you can still make money on that property, right? So I think those things are important. Like you mentioned about the neighborhoods that were in Chicago, like one of those Chicagoland area is Arlington Heights, is one of the 77 neighborhoods that's there. And I can tell you that even in those neighborhoods, there are certain things that you can pick out so that, it's maybe a bigger motivator for someone to buy there.
Yeah.
A good example that I could give you is like in the city of Chicago by Rogers Park, there's a hospital there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have a program that does 100% financing for doctors. 100% financing for doctors. So if you look in those areas where there's a hospital or whatever, right? Like as you as an agent, anticipate that there are doctors that need to work at that place.
Definitely.
And those doctors need a place to live. Right?
Yeah.
And what better way to tie them to the community that they live in than to own a home and not have to come up with a down payment? So these guys are busting their butts saving people's lives, right? If we can help them with the purchase of their home, we do it.
Right.
Absolutely right. We talked about Rogers Park a little bit, and we know that there's some hospitals there. There's a college there, right? The lake is close by. So there's all kinds of fun stuff in Rogers Park. Chris, what's one of the neighborhoods that you work with that you can tell us a little bit about, that neighborhood?
Yeah, so more than anything, I grew up and been raised in Little Village. So it's a community that I definitely have been looking into for quite a while now. And, I've seen the progression more than anything of how it's been changing, right? Because obviously it's not the greatest neighborhood in the world, but due to the fact that, Pilsen is right next to it, right? It's been able to grow out, and it's actually been bleeding over to Little Village. And now you see, right, that property prices are not where they used to be, right? Not
that little influence, right? That little influence.
Exactly. Whatever's around you, like you said, right, is what causes that infrastructure to grow, right?
Yeah.
More than anything, there's more people that want to, lower taxes, which is definitely available in Little Village, right?
Yeah.
And low price points, which you could have gotten before, right? If you would have gotten a ball, right?
Yeah.
But now if you want to do that, right, you have to come out with $200,000 on a property that maybe is not the greatest at the moment, but that's why we do have renovation loans, right?
There we go.
So that we can get the equity that we need, so that way you can benefit from the area more than anything, right? It's definitely up and coming. Still have a lot of
potential.
Exactly, and it's something that I'm very paying attention to closely, because obviously I'm from there. And I can see it happening. I've seen it happen day by day. I've seen the things get more better. I've seen the houses get better. I've seen the people been, there's less violent. Exactly. Exactly. And it's good to see, right? Obviously, we want to have more people of our kind, right, to take advantage of that, because we live there, right? And that's why we're here doing this more than anything, to educate these people, to let them know, right, that there's a lot of opportunity in maybe your backyard, right? You just need to have the right people beside you, the right team, you'll get it done.
So true, man. Like how you mentioned the opportunity, it's like maybe if you missed that boat where it's like you might not find the prices like below 300K, but now it's like if you do have the right people, maybe with a renovation loan, something that needs like the dilapidated properties like you mentioned. So like you find something like that with on top of the renovation loan, bro.
Go.
Opportunity, hell yeah.
Definitely.
And Chris was talking about something right now, and you brought it up in the previous episodes about how the value of a certain neighborhood then bleeds into the surrounding neighborhoods, right? And how you can do that. So to Chris's point about Little Village in Pilsen, I live in Pilsen. When we first came to the U.S., we landed in Pilsen, and it has a special place in my heart. Even though I'm a Little Village kid all the way through and through, I see the benefits that Pilsen has, right? And what I can tell you, something that's going to connect the city very, very soon is a development that's been going on now for, I would say, about 10 years. And it's a development called El Paseo. And what El Paseo is very similar to the 606 that they did on the north side, where it connected the neighborhoods on a pathway where you can walk, where you can, have festivals, where you can gather, where you can ride your bike. They're going to make that same connection from Little Village to Pilsen all the way to downtown. And one of the new neighborhoods that's coming to Chicago, the 78, through Clark, you're going to be able to walk through these neighborhoods. This is something that hasn't happened before, and it connects the cities and the surrounding areas so much more. So what does that mean for you? Well, that means that more access, right? So if the neighborhood is connected to this infrastructure that they built, they're going to invest in those neighborhoods because they want people to use that thing.
Correct.
Right? So now, maybe Little Village, like you said, is priced out now, but Canaryville isn't. And if you don't know where Canaryville's, reach out to us. Canaryville now might do it for you, and maybe you go back of the yards. Maybe you're scared of back of the yards, but I know what's coming to back of the yards. I know exactly what's coming to back of the yards, right? And these are the things that you start to see how one neighborhood then bleeds into others and people want to go. Because what happens is that, yeah, you get pushed out. And then those same people who were culturally savvy, who had art shops, who were doing their coffee shop, move into a smaller neighborhood. And then they do that again. But now instead of those people keep moving out, those business owners buy a 4-unit with a commercial storefront in it, put your coffee shop and never leave the neighborhood. It's yours. You'll generate
ride the
income.
ride, man. Just,
Absolutely right. And then we see it happen all the time.
yeah.
So now let's copy success.
Right.
No reason to reinvent the wheel. What else is coming? If you look at the neighborhoods and how they mirror each other, Little Village, Marshall Boulevard, if I close my eyes and you didn't tell me where I was, I might think I was in Humboldt Park.
Right.
The neighborhood looks exactly the same. Has a big park in the middle. It has houses on the side. It has access to the streets. There's commercial places that are there. And Humboldt Park exploded. Little Village is the same thing. And that I want to say that I think Marshall Boulevard is a little bit better than Humboldt, like Sacramento, right? Like, I got to be honest, right? That little bend that you do with the statue, man, that's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Same thing in that neighborhood. There's a hospital there, right? And that hospital has gotten so much money by Douglas Park. Now they're going to invest in Douglas Park. And that neighborhood before, when I used to go play tennis and have to move the needles that people were shooting up on, now that court looks better than the one downtown.
Right.
But these are the things that are coming. And if you see it in a neighborhood, be wise enough to look at the surrounding area because you might be able to take advantage of that opportunity.
Right. One of the biggest things too that drives, that growth in communities is obviously businesses.
Correct.
And obviously, I don't know if you guys know this, but Little Village has the second highest grossing GDP street in all of Midwest behind Michigan Avenue. Yeah. So that goes to show you how much of a volume that our community, because Little Village is the mecca of Hispanics in the Midwest.
Yeah.
People come from Indiana, Wisconsin, Ohio for what? For las tortillas, la comida. All of them say the thing, no hay comida como aquí in Chicago, right? La viejita, right?
Yeah.
And to see that we're behind a multi-million-dollar street and the Magnificent Mile where you have designer clothes, all this, right? The Starbucks, the roast, all that, right? We're right behind them on second. Bro, it goes to show you that, there's a bunch of that in Little Village. And it's just, we gotta realize it.
And look, it's funny that you bring that up, Chris, because I've actually spoken about that topic in a public forum. And I'm going to take it one step further so that you you feel the real value that's in Little Village. The money that they're counting is the money that people report. On every street corner, there's a lady selling elotes and she doesn't report that. I guarantee you that 26th Street makes more money than Michigan Avenue, and we don't have Fendi, and we don't have Louis Vuitton, and we don't have all those other stores. But this street generates that amount of revenue that it causes attention nationwide. That's the type of stuff that's in these neighborhoods. This is the type of economy that's booming there, right? So now you think about it, right? Well, I'm a business owner, maybe, right? Or I want to open a business. Where's a neighborhood where commerce is thriving? And I don't have to spend $10,000 per square foot to rent out a location.
Yeah.
Oh, I know where I could go. I could go to Little Village, right? The traffic that goes up and down there on Saturdays and Sundays, it's a testament to how people, want to spend their money in their community. And those are the type of things that we can leverage as well, right? Being aware of what the values are in those communities, right?
Right.
So we're going to wrap it up right now. I feel like we had a good little mashup of everything that's going on and how we can incorporate these things. In all of these neighborhoods, these loan programs are available. It's not dictated to one area or another, right? Sometimes you hear about low to moderate income areas, right? Mm-hmm. And in those areas, you can take advantage of because the government has identified them and they want to incentivize you. So whether you do a down payment assistance program, you do a renovation, maybe you purchase a foreclosure from a community bank that's in the neighborhood, right? These are all things that you can leverage if you're aware of what's going on in your community, right?
Right.
So good stuff, guys. Angel, why don't you wrap us up, brother? Hit us with the hot facts. Let us know what we learned this one. And then Chris, tell us what's going on for the next episode, brother.
And the hot facts for this episode will match up with a lot of things, but I think the real lesson here is that, the opportunity, like I mentioned, we've mentioned it even in the past episodes. I think if you really dig and go back to a lot of what we've been talking about, you're going to see what we mean, that when the line is drawn or before the line is drawn, and to recognize opportunity. And just know that we mentioned a lot on this episode. We literally gave you a pinpoints of your pinning locations of where the next coming opportunity might be at. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, who knows? But at the end of the day, we're giving you precise locations of where, their opportunity might be. And at the end of the day, if you missed out on certain waves, this is one that you don't want to miss out on. So really take advantage and, reach out to us for any more detailed consultations, you could say. So
Strategies. We got some good strategies for
and
folks.
programs too. So like I said, just feel free to reach out.
Brother Chris, what's coming up for the next episode?
Make sure to tune in for our next episode where we discuss our hot whys. See you then.
Go.
But this is how wives.
Hot wives. Say it like clearer. Say it.
Hot why?
Why?
That's good, man. That's good.
Like that. Why?